Hey, I'm Dan John Dunn. I've been having conversations for a while now. I used to do a thing called Northwest Indiana Deep Thinkers. We had deep conversations, and today we're going to talk about something that has implications for democracy. Talking about funding and, you know, how that affects who gets elected. You can join me on the inside. Learn more.
I am a big believer if they're going to give you money, take it, right?
Yeah, right.
When you have a track record of still voting the right way, right? Like Rodney's got money from NIPSCO. Everybody's all up in arms, NISORS and NIPSCO, right? He's taking money from them, but he's voting with the people. He's voted against giving them power to be able to vote, right? So he has a track record. I can see that track record. I know, okay, you took their money, but you're not doing anything for them. You didn't make an agreement with them. You aren't, paying to play and all of those things that happen. I don't have that. I don't have a track record. I don't know.
Thursday night at the American Legion, I came with some tough questions for Beau, and so did Aaron Collins, Bob Cotton, and numerous others. As an Indiana delegate and president of Porter County, Indiana Young Democrats, I need to ask these questions. Many came with questions about funding. I came with a specific one about 2 donors.
Thank you very much, folks, for inviting me to be here with you all tonight. Even in the midst of the Bears news, we still have such a great turnout, which is just a testament to how involved and motivated everyone in this room is. Thank you so much for letting me be here with you all tonight. I've talked to so many folks already that are running for office. That's amazing. People have filed to be state delegates. The energy, you can feel it in the room. That means the world. And I look forward, if I haven't already met you, I look forward to meeting you. So thank you.
You're so welcome.
So I have a question. There's a large AIPAC donor who also sent funds to your campaign, and also Marc Rowan, who sits on the Board of Peace, also donated to your campaign, and he's also in the Epstein files. So I'm just putting those 2 things together. It looks like a pattern. Maybe it's not. But why would they want to donate to you? Is there a reason?
Every donor that I've solicited for a campaign contribution, I've given the same pitch. Mm-hmm. We need integrity. We need competent leadership in our state government. I don't agree with my donors on every issue. I don't agree with my family on every issue. I love my brother a lot. We fight a lot of the times. But at the end of the day, if we agree on the main thing, which is that Diego Morales is not the right person for the Indiana Secretary of State's office, I'm going to accept their support. That doesn't mean we agree on every issue. It means we probably disagree on a whole lot sometimes. But we have to build a broad coalition here to be successful.
But to piggyback on Mr. Donovan's question, who represents the Young Democrats, the message resonates well. This message of the line of accountability to donors. And so it begs the question, and again, it's an honest question, with respect to it sounding like you solicited the various people for donations, that's what you said. Is there a limit as to who you might not accept money from? And is there any sense of, understanding how it may resonate with the younger voters and perhaps even some of us older guys to have a standard, if you will, with respect to where that line is, and maybe even consider returning some of the donations if in fact they come from places that are a bit too controversial for your larger base.
I feel like he's sidestepped the question by saying we don't all have to agree on every issue and that there's too much at risk to sort things out now. That instead we'll deal with it later. After another person questioned him on similar lines, he said, "I do not accept donations if there is an expected action I must take." there are a few things I don't like about these answers. It sidesteps the connection to funding and the overseeing of the genocide in Gaza. The obvious answer should have addressed that. You know, if that was his position, why wouldn't he take the opportunity to say it? Secondly, the constant reminder that there is too much at risk is a bit of a FOMO, a fear of not getting a Democratic representative in the Secretary of State's office. People do have options, though. There's Beau and there's also Blythe Potter. Both are candidates that bring a lot to the table. And Blythe does not have this donation problem leading us to question, who do you represent? One of the problems with the Democratic Party is its fear of being partisan. The result is that candidates are rarely inspiring of any major change, and therefore they don't turn people out to vote. We can't be afraid to the point of diluting the values that we stand for. After the meeting, I have this conversation with Bob Cotton.
I want to thank you.
All good. It's all good.
Shout out.
Huh? The shout out, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it needed to be answered, and I think he handled it well. And again, I'm always a panorama.
Right.
Boy, but nevertheless, you are, not alone, but you're the youngster, you know what I mean?
Right.
These things matter. That's one of the exceptions that the other candidate is making. And it's a legitimate question. However, I thought he gave an immaculate answer, because that's the line. I'm not taking any donation because you expect something for it. And sometimes you can say my support from you is sort of play pay or whatever you want to call it. But I said, wait a minute, they gave me not a dime.
He also talks about the utility rates, how they're rising, the underfunding of public schools, some things that he's advocating for, like citizen-led ballot initiatives, early access to voting, and also generally bringing back competence and integrity back to the office of Secretary of State.
Legislature focused on toward the back end of last year, not keeping our public schools funded, not keeping our rural hospitals operating the way that they needed to, not making sure that our utility rates are down and people could live life affordably. They were focused on redistricting our state in the middle of a decade, but thanks to the people in this room and throughout our state, that did not happen.
Your campaign to eliminate straight ticket voting and you promoting citizen-led ballot initiatives, and I'm fully on board with those things, but obviously those things need to be changed at the legislature. So how do you plan on tackling that issue?
This is a good question, and he's correct. In order to do any of those things that I mentioned, we need to elect more people like Ryan Komenakis to the state legislature. Supermajority. We need four seats to break the supermajority in the state legislature. And I hope to run very competitively at the top of the ticket, a well-resourced professional campaign. That's going to help us with some of our races down ballot. And the same is true of people down ballot helping me. You asked about straight ticket voting. Straight ticket voting has been an awful thing for our state. A lot of times, I can't tell you how many times I will talk to a Republican who says, "Oh, I didn't vote for Diego Morales." And then I said, "Well, did you vote straight ticket?" And they said, "Yeah, I think so." I said, "Well, I have news for you." But this can be done. Two Republican state legislators introduced legislation during this legislative session to abolish straight ticket voting. What that tells me is there's appetite amongst Republicans for getting rid of this, and I think we ought to build bridges. We ought to form consensus where we can with Republicans, where we agree on the issue. So I'd love to see that happen. And the ballot initiative thing, look, it's a long road. It would require a constitutional amendment to the state constitution. Politicians are like anyone else. They respond to incentives. They respond to pressure. If you go directly to the people of our state who really believe that this is a good issue, I've seen the polling on it, it's very positive. If you go to people and say, "Hey, I think this is a good idea," they're going to apply the pressure to their representatives who otherwise might not be receptive to it. I hope that answers your question. But at the same time, the Secretary of State should be doing everything they can within reason to increase participation among eligible voters. So how do we do that? We can expand access to early voting. Right now, as we speak in the state legislature, they're trying to shorten our early voting window. That doesn't make sense. I've voted in every Indiana election since I was 18, all but 2 of those. I voted early because you got a busy family life, you got work obligations. It makes it easier to get to your polling place and a time and place of your choosing. So I would love to see a widening of our early voting. That experience to this office, I've also handled commercial transactions and corporate formations. I hope to bring some of that experience to the business division of the Secretary of State's office. None of those things that I just mentioned should be overly partisan. We just need a competent operator and someone with some integrity in this office. Beyond all of the policy, though, beyond all the policy, which we could talk about all night, I am sick and tired of the division, of the anger, and of the hatred that we have seen come to consume our politics. Just
Apart from that, I got to see some great local candidates. Ryan Komanikis had a particularly riveting speech, and I know that he will represent the working people of our district very well if he does get elected. Far better than Ed Soliday. All in all, it was a good night for democracy, filled to the brim with Hoosiers holding officials and candidates accountable, even if that's just in the form of learning what they really stand for. Which, isn't that the most important question, really, in a representative democracy?
Well, today we witnessed a bit of democracy, a bit of holding elected officials, candidates accountable with questions that matter. And I feel like Beau answered the questions. Ultimately, we can't know, though, whether there is or is not a quid pro quo that is held between him, AIPAC, or some school choice donor, but he seems like a great candidate, and that's all we can ask for. It's a high-risk situation where we're running against Diego Morales, someone who definitely is nepotistic, giving his brother-in-law a job at a $100K salary, so he's certainly better than that. But at least we asked the question. We saw after that moment that everyone else was asking something along similar lines. People want to know, what are they doing donating to him? It's a legitimate question. What do you think? This has been Daniel John Dunn, Unscripted with Daniel, signing out.